Hello, everyone. Welcome back to No One is Perfect. Today, we are going to be unpacking one of the biggest fairy tales we're told, that relationships are supposed to be constant work all the time. They're so hard, and everything will be fine if you put in all the work and a lot of self sacrifice, because that's also part of that fairy tale. But the truth is, I believe long term relationships, and that is not just in an intimate partner. It can also be with people at work. It can be with friendships. It can be with siblings. That those long term relationships is really where we learn more about ourselves and what it means to love another human being. So today we're going to explore how to find your own personal way in relationship, and maybe hopefully give you some recognition tools about seeing your own patterns, and instead of pulling away from that, to actually lean into your pattern and be curious about what's happening within the pattern. So because awareness is the first piece to change. So, Marty, welcome back with me. It's so good to see you.
So happy to be back here. And I always love the conversations we have before we hit record.
We do have good conversations.
We
Yes.
do. We do. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It just stimulates my brain to dive right into this because my husband and I are in therapy together, and it's been really helpful to us. And like our therapist said, you guys, everyone chooses each other by design, and we choose each other to help bring up our stuff. This is a
Yeah.
therapist saying this to heal it. And let me tell you, like 24 years together, and I'm like, what did I choose? Like, my husband and I laugh about it now. And I'd say, it's so important to know that everyone's got their own journey and relationship. And anytime to me somebody tries to cookie cut you into the way it's supposed to be, it's not taking into account personalities and trauma that we grew up with and all of those things. That matters. That matters. And often I find that we judge ourselves, like we see the
Mhm.
highlight reels of couples, on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of that. And that's what we end up judging ourselves against. And I mean, I know I've done it. I know I've done it. And I think as I get older and with this therapy, it helps too to see just in my own relationship with my husband, because he is my predominant relationship, the nuances and the difference. And it's extremely unconventional in so many.
Your relationship with him
It
is.
is because even our therapist said, wow, you guys, the way you are with each other, it works with you guys, but there's other people no way it would work for. And I'm going to give the example. And Christy, this is what I love about this podcast now, because I'll be talking to Liam and I'm like, I got to call Christy. He goes, podcast material. I'm like, I got to tell her what
Yes.
just happened between us. And it's so hilarious. So, there's like a couple things. Like we were talking a couple weeks ago, and he was bringing up Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and he's asking me like, "What's their not highest grossing movies ever?" And I didn't know what they were. It was Argo for Ben Affleck and The Martian for Matt Damon, and he started talking. My husband started talking about their wives, and I said, "You know whose wife I think is beautiful is Matthew McConaughey." So and I called you right after.
Yeah.
And Liam's like, and he's like, she's attractive, Mart, but she doesn't have any more of a rocker bod than you had.
Keyword had.
And I literally laughed and I go, had? And he's like, yeah. And he was in so earnest. He's like, do you think I have the rocker body that I used to have and all that? And I understand that for some people that would be devastating.
Yeah.
Hear that, but I laughed. I was just like, had laughed. And I was like, I gotta call Christy. It's so funny to me. And then the other day, yesterday, we were working through something, and he's like, it's just so funny to me because when I was talking to my one girlfriend about this, she's like, oh, and Liam goes, Mart, I love your ass, meaning me as a person, between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. And I bursted out laughing. Because I'm like, I get that. I relate to it while you're sleeping.
Exactly.
It's like when you look at your tyrannical child that's in their like tyrannical phase and they're sound asleep. And I remember being with a girlfriend and she goes, "Isn't he gorgeous?" She was talking about her son who was like a tyrant when he was a little kid. And she's like, "He's so gorgeous when he's sleeping." And that's why I say it's not conventional because some people would be like devastated by that, and that's fine. Like that's everybody,
Yeah.
but I could not stop laughing. And that's why I was like, I gotta call Christy. I've got more content. And that's why I think that stuff is so important to know. And it's taken time. Him and I have been together 24 years now. And it's just taken that history and that time and lots of wounds and lots of crying
Yeah.
and lots of fighting and lots of to be like to really understand each other now and to have the thing that you brought up, the awareness of self to go, this is how we each are. And less about changing each other and more about understanding this is who this person is and finding better ways to communicate with each other.
Yeah. I think that is the key. And also in my, from my experience, understanding how I need to be heard, how my needs need to be met. And that I think the biggest lesson within my 26 years of marriage is if I don't speak it or create it, that's on me.
Mm,
Because so many times in the past, when I have wanted something and then I would have someone say, "Well, did you ask?"
yeah.
I said, "Well, no, he should just know that that's,"
Ugh.
and I've really learned to use that as a tool that if I'm feeling frustrated or not cared about or not heard, that I actually need to ask. And even like with being heard, to say, "Okay, Trent, let's sit down. I need a good 30 minutes of your undivided attention," which also means turn the phones off. I need to talk and I need you to only listen to me. And when I'm ready to hear you give feedback, then I'll ask. But I've learned to be so clear with my instructions, because I think that's where it can get so messy, because they'll jump in, the one partner does or not, or
Oh,
shut
yeah.
down. But I've learned to set up that container, and it's made my life so much easier, because it's really, speaking up has been one of my largest challenges.
Oh,
And I'm doing much better, but for me to create the space to say, "Let's have a conversation," is the beginning. And that's not easy, because in the past, it would take me 3 days of shutting down and not talking and being pissed that he wouldn't come have a conversation with me because he was in his own process. And I really appreciate the work that people have done before me in this whole relationship conversations, how women function, how men function,
yeah.
and the differences in how we both come to the table and have it go back and forth, instead of one of us having to be right or do it one way, because that's impossible.
Ugh.
It's
I love that.
impossible.
Yeah. It's so true, Christy, the thing you're saying about there's this expectation that they're just supposed to know. No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, they're
No.
not. That's part of that fairy tale we've been sold, like, oh, they're supposed to know our every need. And it is like to know that, like to learn the art of speaking up. That
Yeah.
bumper sticker that I had forever, speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. To
Yeah.
like know that, like, no, to set the container, like, I just need you to listen. I've done that too. I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't need anything fixed here. I just need to vent. And I'm not asking for feedback. Can you do that? And he'll tell me if he can or he can't. And that's
Yeah.
great. If he can't, he can't. And if he can, he's like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to listen, and
Yep.
tape my mouth shut. Because I think it's the nature typically to fix the problem, but just to be like, I just need you to act like you're a girlfriend right now and just let me vent.
Hmm. Well, and that the practice of listening is as valuable as the practice of speaking. I
So,
think they're both equal,
yes, I agree.
because if you can have someone, whoever that is, that you're in relationship, ask for what you need within. I'd really like a conversation. Can we just not have, until I'm finished, don't talk? That's a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
But
It's huge.
I think I work with so many women that what I hear mostly is, well, he won't do that, or he doesn't listen. And that's when I'm asking, well, did you ask? No, he won't. I said, well, most men in general, since we're talking about our partners, really would just like a happy wife, happy life. And if they need to do a few things to make you happy, most of them really will. Their men are quite simple in that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yes, that we have all the variables, but in general, give them good directions.
Yeah.
They'll show up for that.
Yeah. No, I think there's so much truth to that too. And I think it's that really, to me, relationships are very much about learning about yourself. Like,
Mhm.
and we've, I think, talked about before, we don't even know we have rules until they get violated. And then you're like, wait, you violated a rule. I didn't even know I had, but now I know I
Yeah.
have it. And that's the sort of self-awareness piece. And well, this is funny, Chrissy, because we were talking about beforehand along those lines. Like my husband and I were working through something yesterday morning, and he goes, Mark, do you think you're sweet? I go, hell no. He goes, oh, okay. I was like, I have no illusions. Like, no one that knows me for any length of time is going to go, oh, she's sweet. They might say she can be kind, she can be very compassionate, but sweet, no, no. And to just to know that that's okay, that everyone's different. And if you are a
Mhm.
sweet, I think for me, what I saw growing up is sweet people got mowed down.
Yeah.
So that's in my brain. But there's plenty of people that are sweet that don't get mowed down. They're just like, I think of Mother Teresa. I think she was a very powerful person, and there
Mhm.
was so much sweetness and compassion in her, but she had power. So it's just to learn about ourselves, like in relationship. I mean, that's where you learn it more than anything. Like nobody brings your stuff up
Oh,
more than that person that you have, whoever that is, you have the most intimate relationship with.
yeah. And the patterns to notice are what, how, how do you notice yourself in conflict? Like, do you run away? Do you explode? Do you not speak to them for 5 days? Because, and
Yeah.
I think the easiest way to learn that is look at who raised you, because that's how we learn relationship,
Yes,
and
that's so true.
how people relate.
Mm-hmm.
And in the somatic world, the more that you can pay attention to the cues of, okay, I'm pulling away from love, I'm pulling away from being accessible, how how is that showing up in your body? And
Mm.
so some really simple things to notice. Literally pulling away could be this,
Oh, this is mine.
right? Yeah. Oh, and we
A
notice
set
your
jaw.
mouth, the mouth gets set really tight.
Yeah.
And so in somatics, what that means, when you pull away and you're doing this, you're literally covering up your heart chakra, really, and the third, which is identity and sense of self. So you're going into a protection mode. And then when you set back to, you made your lips tight, right? So there's a resistance to expression and communication, like I'm not available for,
Mm-hmm.
which is appropriate.
Yeah.
But what I would like people to be curious about is what does my body do when
Yeah.
I pull away from, and or some people pull away, some people go right in for the kill,
Yeah. Oh,
right? You
yeah.
may go in and start fighting or screaming or like being very confrontive to
Mm-hmm.
make the other person pull away. And I don't think either it's good or bad. It's really, it's a lot of times it's a trauma response.
Oh.
I mean, it goes back to your own experience. So I don't say it as a judgment, but I say it as if you don't know what your own patterns are, you're not going to be able to change them.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that our therapist, my husband and I see, he calls it time traveling. You're time traveling. So you're going back into the history, the files, the trauma, and you're time traveling back to where that is. And I've
Yeah.
noticed sometimes, like when my husband and I are like, I'm doing this, and he's actually been into psychosomatics longer than I have. Like one time he's like, Mart, like, look at the legs on that person. They're so skinny. They're so flighty. They're not grounded. He goes, look at me. I got skinny legs. I'm not flighty. I'm not grounded. Like he said that. I was like, wow. Or he'll tell me, take on that face, take on that behavior, and you take it on.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. But when I've done this, he'll go, open your arms, open your arms. And then
I,
I have to slowly allow myself to open them when I feel like I can, not
yeah.
just open my arms. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it's tender
Mm-hmm.
and it, there again, somatically and with the tapping that you do, it's really about, it's not about the other person. How can I feel safe in my system, either to have a conversation or to walk away
Yeah.
as an adult, not a child? Like you said, the time travel. And what I want people to understand too is when there's been a trauma that has been unresolved, or you may not even know that you would react that way. The body doesn't understand time.
Mm-hmm.
And if it happened 20 years ago and it hasn't been resolved, it's still happening
Yeah.
live. And it's happening in your body, let alone your brain, because your brain's going over the looping of the story and your body's contracting in different
Mm-hmm.
areas. So that could be like long term GERD, which is
Yeah.
stomach issues, long term like constipation, diarrhea. How are you digesting your life and what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
So, as you look at your relationships, like even with your siblings, your partner, are there any long term side effects that you have noticed that haven't been cleared up? So even thyroid issues is a big one. High blood pressure,
Yeah.
bubbling up, and explosion.
Yeah.
And I would say clenching, which tends to be mine, is holding back. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are the patterns somatically for you in your relationships that you can begin to notice, and then we can begin to change them?
Yeah. It's just so huge to recognize that,
Yeah.
and I do think that's where the healing really happens. And it doesn't mean that any of that is easy.
No.
And like it is messy.
Yeah.
It is messy. And relationships can, like, they're all kinds of stuff. Their work, they can be really fun. There's all kinds of stuff to know. There's all these nuances. And then the thing that I always see too is just the history that you have with someone is so huge.
Hmm.
The history. And my sister used to call this, couple speak. The way people, what she meant by it is the way they talked. Like I call my husband Bugs. Hey,
Hmm.
Bugs. you know, and I think he calls me babe. We used to call each other bub, but it's like that's the couple speak, you know,
Yeah.
and you have that history with each other that's there from learning in that way. Yeah.
Hmm. And it's kind of a process of growing up, wouldn't you say?
Oh, that is so funny, Chrissy, because my husband said that recently. He's like, I feel like I'm really maturing. And that's how I have felt. Like once
Mm.
I found tapping, I thought, I actually feel like I'm maturing
Yeah.
and I'm growing up and I'm becoming, I don't care how old you are. It's like, wow, I'm becoming more emotionally fit is a
Hmm.
big term I would use, where, you're like, meh, all right, that's not worth getting into. And it's not like you're
Yeah.
stuffing it. You're just like, I don't want to waste the energy.
Yeah.
It's not.
And that's powerful and not over the person. That to me is really, people use the word embodiment and empowerment. It's those two together because your system didn't get flooded and your brain didn't take over. Like
Hmm.
you've talked about the bully in the brain.
Yeah.
It just came to a neutral point. We go, ah,
Right. Yeah.
that's healthy. And it makes me come back to Marty too. We are talking about, I'm curious with tapping when there's an issue and someone's expressing, and we all have different ways we handle when we get triggered as we're listening. And so the whole conversation goes, and the other person says, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And so you feel worse
So when you
because
start
there's
tapping
no
yourself bloody.
acknowledgement. Because I would love to hear your
Yeah.
perspective on that, because I hear that quite a bit. And
Yeah.
it sounds so dismissive. And yet sometimes it is meant in the right way.
Hmm.
But I think as you're expressing vulnerability and what you need to have that be said to you, that's really hard to
It
process.
is. And it's funny, I've read a lot on different things like that. And I heard that once that when someone is dismissive that way, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's actually it's a narcissistic trait. That doesn't mean it's the only thing, but it's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry you feel that way. And as you and I were talking earlier, oh, I've used that on purpose. Sorry you feel that way. And I know when I'm using, I'm just being a complete shit about it.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry you feel that way. You know, but I think it's more like, yeah, I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm
Yeah.
sorry you're sad. That's an acknowledgement of that. And then like that's why I say it, but I joke like that's where you tap yourself bloody. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry. I can't believe they said that to me. I'm sorry you feel that way. You know,
Yeah.
because it is in in many instances it is dismissive. It's more
Well,
like
it's kind of gaslighting.
it is. That's why they attribute it to an like a narcissistic tactic.
Yeah.
Sorry, you
Because
feel
they're
that.
not responsible for
Right.
them not
Yeah.
behaving in a way that was appropriate.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. It's all you. It's all about you. Yeah.
Yeah. And that can really mess up your brain, I think, long
And
term, if that
yes.
your partner that you're intimate with, that's the response that they're giving you.
Right.
So as we have this conversation, to know that to slow down in that moment, if that is how your partner is responding. And maybe we can do some tapping on this. Like I would, in the tapping, I would be curious, okay, and what would I say if someone said that, and how could I make a bridging statement in my brain
Right.
after I get over my irritation that I
Yeah.
feel dismissed?
Yeah.
How could I shift that so it's not, because to me that's a play of power. It
Absolutely.
shuts someone down, and
Yeah.
then they win.
Right. It's funny. This thought just popped in my head about that. Like as you tap through it and then you're like, yeah, I'm sorry. I feel that way too. Like
Yeah.
that could be a response. Like, "Yeah, I'm really sorry I feel that way too. Like that. Again, in the tapping world, what I would have somebody do if somebody says that to you, sorry you feel that way. Oh my God, I'm going to tap. So you want to just do it right now?
Yeah, because I hear that a lot from clients and people. And
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing is it shuts them down, and that's male and female. It's not just
it
one.
is. Absolutely.
And um how so if that shutdown happens as we do the tapping, that's where I'd like to really have like a little script of how to come back out of that, and
Yeah.
maybe have a different internal response first and then an external response.
Yeah, here's what I would recommend, and we'll tap for sure, but to me, that can be so triggering. So for me, I'm sure I'd probably become pretty enraged. So I would have to just, like a lot of times I skip this when you're right there in the emotion. You just want to skip this because this just feels laborious. If you're right there in the emotion, it'd be go right there. So let's just do it. Go to the eye.
Okay, great.
I'm sorry you feel that way. Oh, oh, that makes me so mad. I'm sorry you feel that way. Ugh, makes me seething. Or it just really hurts my feelings. It's so dismissive and so upsetting. And I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm going to have to tap myself bloody. I'm sorry you feel that way. Ugh. I can get so mad about that. Or my wounded little child gets so activated and she's just hurt to the core. I feel so unvalidated, so dismissed. I'm saying you feel that way. That's such a shitty thing to say. But I can't stop them from having said that. But what if the best thing I can do for myself is this right now?
Mm.
Honor what I'm feeling in this moment. I'm sorry you feel that way. It's so hurtful,
Mhm.
so annoying, so dismissive. And that little kid inside of me is so activated right now. And all the wounds are open. I'm time traveling back
Mm.
to all the times I felt dismissed, invalidated, basically told I shouldn't feel what I'm feeling.
Mm.
Like somehow my feelings are wrong. And that's hurtful. But what if I can tell myself right now, I'm allowed to feel whatever I feel? And their dismissiveness, I'm sorry you feel that way, says everything about them
Mhm.
and nothing about me. So I'm going to honor that wounded child inside of me that feels so hurt and dismissed and give her presence. I'm going to let her have her feelings because they clearly can't.
Mm.
And what if that's what this is really all about? Is me learning to give me my feelings, to honor myself and my truth, and learn to not make myself wrong for whatever I'm feeling, even if they can't handle it. And that can make all the difference over time. I like
Mm.
to animate it that way too. Like, like I'm sorry you feel that way because it adds kind of, it can eventually become humorous. And you're like, that's pretty much how they sound. I'm sorry you feel that way.
Well, and when you're upset, when anyone's upset, it is
Yeah,
that, who do
it
you think
is.
you are? And
Yeah,
because we do bring that tone into it.
right.
And I think with tapping and expression, I would invite that
Yeah.
because you're
Oh,
in a
I
private space doing your
exactly.
tapping.
Yeah.
And I would say with the tapping after you finish, a couple things I would practice. And I can't do it while I'm sitting here, but you can lie down on the bed and move your legs back and forth this way or side to side. It will help loosen your pelvis, which actually helps the contraction in your nervous system to settle. And you just do it for like 5 minutes.
Mm.
And you could even tap while you do it if you want to. But the whole idea is to come back into your body, into your breath, and allow the adult to take care of that little child that you were talking about, that your feelings are valid. They do matter. And you can have an adult conversation about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Because I think with relationships, sometimes if that happens a lot, it's a very manipulative tactic to
Oh,
not hear your partner and just,
yeah.
go about, and then it comes up again. And I loved how you talked about emotionally fit, because the more that you practice speaking up, and even to yourself versus
Mm-hmm.
shutting down and letting that mind loop happen, it moves it out and it creates a stronger muscle. That is
It
very
so does.
real.
Yeah.
And also incorporating the body, because sometimes it's so difficult when you're triggered to do what you know to do.
Right. Yeah.
And this is a resource, even if you just remember one thing, which is even just to tap if you don't say anything, or
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just so pissed. Yeah, because
Stomp
you're
your
touching the
feet.
body.
Yeah, just stomp your feet, pace. Like,
Yep.
again, and you might not be that activated. I typically am. So it's like, I sound like an alligator with a mating call. I'm so bad. Like, but everyone, it's just tap like, and if you're hurt and crying, I was working with a client earlier today, and I'd say her and I are very similar in a lot of ways. Like I lead with anger, but below that is so much hurt. But the
Yeah.
anger is easier to feel. And when I'm getting way better at getting in touch with the hurt and the sadness. And I think that's it, just like you can just even let yourself cry, but
Yeah.
just tap here. You don't have to say a thing, but just tap on some point, not to stop it. It just helps to, like I said, it can escalate, but it helps
Mhm.
it to move through the body and move out of the nervous system.
Yeah. And I think I had a client that reminds me of a client last week, that we all have different patterns, which we've talked about. If you can breathe into the wave of the tears, because the pattern
Oh,
for her
yeah.
was to
Oh, right.
and you could literally like feel like this lid just pushing all that down,
Yeah.
to breathe into that wave and allow
Mhm.
the tears to come. Letting it go literally is a washing away of
Yeah.
tears, a liquid, and it literally helps your nervous system.
It totally does.
You're not going to die,
Yeah.
and you'll feel better later. And it's okay if you have like the sobs, and I don't like that they call it the ugly
The
cry,
ugly cry, I don't either.
because I think that's the most freeing cry when
It
you're
is.
finished.
It
There's
is.
nothing shameful about expressing what's been
No.
held. It
Yeah.
frees up the body, and then you're giving your body and your emotional system much more capacity to hold whatever comes next without breaking like a little
It's
twig.
so true, Christy. And I'm laughing because of course I have a memory of this, like because I used to do that. I would stuff the crying. I remember one time, my husband's like, Mart, like try not to stuff it. So the next time I freaking wailed. Like I'm in the car and I'm like, like, and I'm just letting it out. And he's driving.
Yeah.
And I stopped. And I look over and he's like,
Are you finished?
I was like, dude, I set myself free. He's like, I did tell you to do that.
Oh,
Oh my
but
God.
those are the best moments.
They're the
Like,
best
because
moments.
that's about you, not him.
Oh, totally.
Of just, and you're laughing and crying at the same time because the floods came,
Oh my God.
right? And you
Yeah. It was
just,
just like,
yeah.
like he's like, hey. Maybe I regret telling you to leave.
Oh, that makes me laugh.
God,
That brings tears to my eyes in a different way, Marty.
it does. It's so funny.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
so many funny stories.
Well, relationships bring that.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just funny. And I think the more that we can appreciate that and bring
Yeah.
humor to our relationships and what love is, because
Yeah.
loving someone allows for their chaos,
Right.
allows for dumb decisions,
Yeah.
and making room for forgiveness of ourselves and other, so we can continue to grow and move towards
Right. And loving that
being
person
better
best
human.
when they're sleeping.
Isn't that nice too? Oh,
Oh
so
my God.
funny. Yes. I used
Yeah.
to think that with my mostly my little one. He's not little anymore because he cried so much as a baby. I thought I was going to go insane. And I would look at him when he was sleeping and I remember telling my brain, look how sweet he is. I love him so much, because it starts to make your brain just short circuit when babies cry so much.
Oh, it's so hard.
And
It's so hard.
it is. And I love him, and I'm so human too.
Right. Oh my God. Totally. Right.
Oh, well, Marty, thank you. This has been,
Yeah.
I love exploring the challenges like with humor in
Yes.
relationships. And I would like to remind everyone that there's no right way
Exactly.
to do love.
Yeah.
It I believe, in my experience, it keeps coming back to loving yourself first,
Hmm.
healing some of the aspects of the wounded child.
Yeah.
So the wounded child isn't the one in the relationship.
Yeah. It's so true.
The adult is. And we appreciate you being on the podcast with us. Please like and subscribe, and please share our podcast. We, again, if you have any thing that you would like us to talk about, please let us know. You can leave that in the comments, and we will see you next on our next podcast. And we've loved having you all here. So thank you for being
Yeah.
with us.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.